An American philosopher, Ralph Waldo Emerson, said, and I quote, "The first wealth is health," end of quote. Now, this simply means good health is the foundation on which a happy life, community, and economy are built. This is why, since time immemorial, the search for medical solutions to diseases and general well-being is a never-ending one, as it is only when an individual is healthy that he or she can contribute meaningfully to national development. So, on this episode of Frontiers, the focus is ways to promote healthy living. I am Frama Panyi. Our guest is Dr. John Tor Agbidie. He is a neurotoxicologist and integrative medicine expert. Glad to have you join us on the program Frontiers.
Always my pleasure.
The program continues in a moment. Once more, you're welcome on the program.
My pleasure. And I look forward to a robust, discussion to, enlighten, the public.
So let's get straight into it, right? Talking about healthy living, what does it entail? What is it all about?
Yeah, healthy living goes by different synonyms. So some will call it a good lifestyle. They call it well-being. But let me modify that. I call it health optimization. Okay. And when you talk about optimizing, just like we optimize our cars, like if you want to enjoy your car, read your manual very well so that you know how your car functions, what you need to do to maintain it very well. So healthy living, put in a simple way, is a good way of maintaining our bodies. And this covers different parameters, different things that we do.
You know, social scientists say every human action has a resultant effect. Can you tell us some health problems and how they are linked to unhealthy lifestyle?
Yeah, very good question. Let's look at this. And what I'm going to list out, it is also the indices for optimizing our health. One key one, which we tend to neglect or don't understand its own importance, is quality sleep. What do I mean by quality sleep? Remember the adjective quality sleep. Regularly we are told that we are required to sleep for 7 to 8 hours in a day. And most people don't know the importance of this. First, they don't even get the 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And the time of the sleep is also very important. Okay. As always said, we are advised to go to bed at 10 o'clock in the morning. At 10 o'clock at night. That is 10 p.m. And we're to go from 10 p.m. to at least 6 a.m. in the morning. That gives us about 8 hours. Now, why is this so important? You see, there is what we call the circadian rhythm. That is how the body distinguishes day and the night. Okay. Once it is night, our body recognizes and is in tune to that phase of the day, that it is night time. And this phase is regulated by what you call the melatonin cycle. Melatonin is actually a hormone. Okay. That hormone is secreted in darkness from 6 p.m. Oh. Now it will go and rise up, pick up at 10 p.m. Now from 10 p.m. it will now plateau to 12 midnight. And from 12 midnight you find it will start, it will start from 12 midnight it will go to 2 a.m. From 2 a.m. it starts dropping. By 4 a.m., the melatonin, that important hormone known as sleep hormone in our body, is gone. So that is why it is very critical that you sleep between the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. so that you can get in sync with your circadian rhythm and in sync with your melatonin cycle. Melatonin hormone has so many advantages. it has anti-inflammatory properties, it boosts the immune system. Actually, that is when the body actually rejuvenates when we sleep. But if you sleep in the wrong hour, somebody can tell me, yeah, you say we should sleep for, 8 hours. Yeah, I sleep from 12 noon to 8 p.m. I have made, 8 hours sleep, but that is wrong hours. So just that is the sleep. The other ones I'll just quickly rush through them. Earlier we were discussing, hydration. That is water. Water is really very important. Honestly, some of these sicknesses are also attributed and associated with, dehydration. Take this analogy. If your body, our body is actually made up of, water. 70% of our body composition is actually water. The blood, which is responsible for transportation of nutrients and oxygen all over our body, is made up of water predominantly. So if you don't drink enough water, it means that the blood is kind of dehydrated. It becomes kind of, if you want to put it plainly, viscous. Viscosity can best be appreciated when you are, like, if I ask you to go and swim, and the swimming pool is just like filled with, honey. Can you swim in that, environment? No, you can't. But when the water is fluidy, the swimming pool is filled with like the really good water, then you can swim. That is an analogy of what happens exactly. Then let us look at other factors. Like diet, you talk about diet. Let me first of all by defining what adequate diet is. Traditionally, we are told of the 3 classes of food: carbohydrates, protein, and then fat. But an adequate diet is defined as that diet that is digestible. And you know that digestion starts right in the mouth, and after the digestion, it is assimilated. And after assimilating, it is absorbed and transported to the cells, which is the unit of life. So for metabolic, activities. So we talk about, diet. So adequate diet is that diet which is digestible, assimilated, and then absorbed, properly. Talking about diet or nutrition in general, nutrition is actually key, because from the time we are born to the time we die, our body has the innate ability to actually protect us from diseases and, sicknesses. And the indicator or the battalion or the soldier in charge of that is the immune system. And our immune system depends mainly on nutrition. So we say that it is nutrition that drives our immune system. Now, talking about diet, also look at another component, that is micronutrients. We have to take in the right food of that. I've already talked about the 3 classes. Carbohydrate is what ultimately gives us energy. Protein is what actually builds, the body up. And fat, it is what is responsible for mediation of transportation of some of these chemical certain hormones. Like vitamin D is a fat-soluble, vitamin. It requires fat for it to be transported and then to go to. So micronutrients are very, very important. Particularly these days, we've come to realize that vitamin D3 that we talk about is the key player to our immune system. Actually, it's vitamin D that tell our immune system, wake up, wake up, wake up. Without vitamin D, our immune system will be dead. And that has been demonstrated recently. During COVID, we came to find out that most of the people that could not make it through COVID are those who are deficient in vitamin D. There are certain other lifestyles that we just talk about, exercises, and then I talk about emotional balance. There is what we call toxic, emotions. Toxic emotion is responsible for so many, diseases. And we talk about, spirituality, your sanity, your level of this, like forgiveness. It's really very important. Those of us that don't forgive, it is really bad. There is a saying that toxic emotions will kill you faster than bad germs.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. Really enlightening. Now, you're very grounded, you're very experienced in medical practice. From your contact with patients over the years, what are people's attitudes towards basic healthcare?
I don't know, but I don't want to be a preacher here, but they say that my people perish without lack of, knowledge, and that is very true. Most people are very ignorant. They don't know about the, the importance of sleep. They don't know about the importance of exercise. They don't know the importance of adequate, nutrition. They don't know about the importance of, forgiveness, how it is translated to, sickness. So most people are very ignorant. Ideally, people should be doing annual medical checkup. And another important aspect is dental care. When you do annual checkup, we should be visiting our dentist at least twice in a year. And I'm talking of what we call integrative, dentistry, which lays a lot of emphasis on the preventive aspect. Not when you didn't take care of yourself and you go to see a dentist when you're having a tooth, and what he may think of doing for you first is extraction of, the tooth, or seeing how he can drill and do a refill and all this is. But integrative dentistry or preventive dentistry lays emphasis on prevention so that you don't get into this.
Dr. John, we'll just pause here, take a short break before we come back to the conversation.
Let's do that.
This is Frontiers, and we're taking a look at ways to promote healthy living. Glad to know you're still with us. Now, Doctor, let's pick up from where we stopped before we went on break. Talking about people slumming and dying, we hear cases of that. Is it possible for, ailments to just manifest and suddenly lead to death?
Impossible. The way I answer that question and educate that, the only way or the only thing can happen to you like that is a poison. And a good example is, cyanide. If you take cyanide poison, boom, you die immediately. Because cyanide arrests what we call the respiratory chain. You are no longer able to, breathe. Your respiratory chain that produces energy is actually terminated instantly.
Now, share your thoughts with us on this issue. People just suddenly...
Yeah. So, the simple reason is this. What I tell people is that no one ever died of old age. We die because as we age and as a result of a wrong lifestyle, disease comes in. Depending on how stubborn you have been, this can come in very early before you reach even the age of 20, 30, 40, or even 50. Ideally, the biological age of man is 130 years.
Wow.
But because of our lifestyle, we can shorten it at any time. If you want to know, life is actually in three phases. Okay. The phase of growth, which is called anabolic phase. In that phase, we're supposed to live for at least 40 years, the anabolic phase. Then you go into what they call the mesostasis phase. That is the middle area, the homeostatic phase or homeostasis. That means a balance. If you look at it at that time, the plateau is like this. It is determined by pH, because from the growth phase, our pH is ideal, about 7.4. Then from the homeostasis phase, the pH start dropping to to 7. And then we live up to 80, we should live up to 80 years in the homeostatic, phase with the pH of, 7. Then from 80, ideally, the pH will start dropping naturally. And when the pH drops below 6, that is when we die. So if you go 40, we're supposed to live at least 120 years. However, because of our lifestyle, wrong choices, lack of sleep, lack of drinking water, lack of exercise, and toxic, emotions, the pH drops, faster. So we die young. So nobody ever dies of, old age. If we were to age sequentially, we're supposed to live 120 years. So it is really very important that we know this and live properly by checking with doctors, what we call annual checkup, which is very important. I have mentioned that before. Yeah. Then we're talking about dental health, which is really very important. And then you do the various aspects that helps in optimizing our health, just like our car is optimized properly by servicing using right engine oil. And you cannot also just be driving your car throughout the day. You bought it. Then after 3 months, there is a wear and tear. Just talking about wear and tear, the body undergoes the same thing. That's why you have those 3 phases that I had earlier, discussed. Ideally, when you notice that the time you bought, you are a little bit younger, the energy level in you is doing fine. Naturally, as you advance in age, some of these micronutrients that the body naturally would produce, they start, depleting. Things like glutathione, things like some of these, enzymes, the catalysts, that actually guide against the body's overwhelming production of what you call free radicals, that accounts for over 200 different types of, diseases. Initially, the body has that balance, even at the homeostasis phase. That's what it's called. Homeostasis means, balance. And that's why we say, as you age, you need to support your body. Number 1, regular medical checkup. I cannot overemphasize. When there is need for supplementation, people will say, oh, I don't need food supplements, I don't need this. Yes, my dear, you don't need, and that's why you will get into trouble earlier than your own biological, age. Because naturally, things like glutathione, they decline over a period of time. So, as you age, you need to help the body. And another thing here, somebody can argue and say, no, I can get micronutrients, I can get calcium from the food, I can get magnesium from the food. God bless you, you can get this. But looking at our lifestyle today, due to agricultural practices, even the so-called micronutrients that were found from the plants or from the food we eat have been leached down. Application of fertilizers, pesticides, have leached this. So you may be eating food, you think you are getting these micronutrients, but you're not getting them. Take for example, of vitamin C, which is a very potent antioxidant that scavenges free radicals. As we age, the body's ability to actually use vitamin C is actually reduced. So you can see that you need to supplement. Okay, you can say natural supplementation is good. You can get it from oranges. But if you are living a careless lifestyle, by the time vitamin C sets in, it has gone down to that very low level that oral supplementation alone cannot bring you up to the level. I give example with, vitamin D. And that's why these days I tell everybody, try and know your baseline vitamin D. As I earlier said, vitamin D is very important in our immune regulation and potentiation. If you don't get enough vitamin D from the food you eat, and we also say we get it from the sun. I don't want to go into details, but bottom line is that you don't get vitamin D from the sun. Vitamin D is a hormone.
Wow.
But maybe at the level of a knowledge then, or maybe oversimplification, they say you get vitamin D from the sun. Get this right. All that the sun does is to provide that UV light that converts the inactive form of vitamin D3 in our body to the active form. Wow. Period.
Wow.
So, that is it. Take care of micronutrients, take care of your lifestyle, take care of your sleep, and do your regular medical checkup.
Now, you run a healthcare facility. Quickly, can you share with us some common chronic diseases, with patients? You always diagnose.
Well, before I answer that question, honestly, these days, life is no longer good, in the sense that some of the greatest challenge is people who have come under tremendous amount of stress. especially what we call chronic, stress. But we've come to know that stress is associated with almost close to over 80% of all diseases. So, let me go back straight to your question. See, the cases of, diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, which is actually on the rise. And this is as a result of our lifestyle. Sleep alone is known as the #1 cause of, the adult onset diabetes. That's why you see people who are diabetic and they're not managing it well, and they don't sleep well, even if they're taking all these oral anti-hypoglycemics, oral hypoglycemics like metformin, all of them, they find it very difficult to control their blood, sugar level. Let me chip in here too. Things like fasting, they are really very good in helping in regulating your blood sugar level or our blood sugar level.
Any advice on how to keep stress at bay? Because you've mentioned stress over and over again. Now, with the soaring economic realities in the country right now, it's almost inevitable not to be stressed. But how can we keep it at bay?
Stress as a factor is really needed by the body. Short stress helps our body to, work and function better. Let me give an example. We're sitting in this room. If a lion walks here in here, we're all stressed.
Of course.
And I can see you fling back through the window, and I will fling back by the door. So we have reacted positively to the stress of the lion walking in. However, if our body is subjected to what we call chronic stress, this is what perturbs what you call the neuroendocrine system, and it leads to diabetes, it leads to hypertension, and then all of them. So, how do you know that you are stressed? Physical stress is when you start having sleeplessness. You become restless. You cannot concentrate. Some stress will even lead to you having, palpitations in the heart. Yeah. Then some stress can also lead you having, you start being feeling isolated. You develop depression. You want to be on your own. Please, if you start noticing these signs, please see your doctor for help. Then the other aspect of stress, that is what we call the psychological stress. This can be induced as a result of relationship, which I had mentioned earlier, toxic relationship, your work environment, and some sad situation like bereavement, or when people going through divorce can all accumulate into what you call psychological, stress. Now, once you identify this, I've advised you to do the right thing, see the doctor who would help you. Then how do you manage this? Stress. In general, things like exercise, good relationship, good sleep, then emotional cleanliness, which I said, forgiveness, letting go. And if it is your workplace that is inducing, stress, learn how to manage that. And that's why corporate executive or business executive or government executive should take care of their staff to make sure that they don't come under too much stress. Because the moment the individuals become stressful, it leads to the numerous diseases that I had outlined before. And their productivity would reduce. These days, we also have some of these natural products that we can take, things we call adaptogens. They help the body to adapt, things like ginger, things like turmeric, and things like soursop, and all of them are adaptogens. They help your body to cope and handle stress. But remember, I must emphasize your lifestyle, exercise, swimming, and religious activities. They're also good. You see, these days there are some places, especially among the Christian group, they go on dancing when they are preaching. It all helps towards, their own body. Yeah, emotional balance. So there you go.
Dr. John Tor Agbidie, thank you so much for coming on the program. We have to end it here because if we keep on going, we will be here till tomorrow. There's a lot to discuss. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us and educating us on the program Frontiers. We have been taking a look at ways of promoting healthy living with our guest, Dr. John Tor Agbidie, a neurotoxicologist and integrative medicine expert. Thanks for your time. I am Frama